Ogoisi, what efforts are being made to ensure that nature study is reintegrated into the curriculum of primary schools so the consciousness of pupils in natural resources is raised early enough at that stage and sustained down the line? And what is the ministry doing to encourage more people to go into geology and associated professions so they will naturally raise the quantity and quality of mining officers across the land?
All right, just another one from Clifford again. It says, since development and degradation go hand in hand, what level of synergy exists between the Ministry of Mines and State Development and other stakeholders, state governments, ministries, and agencies of government with regard to ensuring sustainability in the sector?
Let's take this one from Sakiru. He says, the problem is government has not put its interest in mining because the cash easy product, that is oil, is still there. Must we wait until it is drained before attention is drawn to the solid mineral sector?
All right, those are the set of tweets that we have. In the meantime, let's bring in again the Minister of State for Mines and Steel Development. There is a tweet there that's asking the question or making a statement with regard to more efficient technology for monitoring mining sites and miners rather than having vehicles. We'd like you to respond to that before we put another question.
Well, we don't want to do so many things at the same time. We have proposals on these things, and you have to look at where we are coming from. We know where we are coming from, we know where we are. We have proposals on that, and very soon we will try to exploit those areas of technology in monitoring activities of our miners. And it will go a long way in solving a lot of problems. So, and from the tweets, you can see that a lot of interest has been generated by some of our activities in the mining sector. And Demola mentioned something at the focal labs when there was this, the ERGP focal labs. We were able to achieve one or two things. One, today, if you look at the artisanal miners and small-scale miners, they are more, particularly the artisanal miners, they are more involved in the mining of gold. It's an easy one for them, and they are all over the place. So what we've decided to do is to organize them in such that we are having discussions with the central bank so that we are trying to bring out a gold purchase policy where the central bank will end up having its reserve not only in dollars but in gold. We've had investors that have shown interest. In fact, we are about to set up the first gold refineries in Africa, maybe except South Africa. No country has that. That's to tell you the amount of activities going on in gold. Ken Smith has just obtained a permit to set up a refinery. Wishbone from Dubai, just 2 weeks ago, we had discussions with them. They're setting up a refinery here. So what they intend to do is that we try to take advantage of our buying centers, provide soft loans for artisanal miners. We're trying to do a pilot project in Kebbi, Niger, Oshun, where the artisanal miners will be provided with machinery or money to ease way of getting this thing dug out. We have the off-takers, those are the refineries. They will refine and sell to the central bank. So we want to address the whole gold value chain. That's a very important one. We're also trying to look at those minerals that we did not prioritize, that are now the talk of the global market. That is lithium and lead zinc and cobalt. Because of the change in the technology now towards electric cars, these things have become so attractive, and we have them in Nigeria. So the focus now is the moment any country that has these minerals, attention from all these car manufacturers shift there. I'm aware that BMW has voted about $48 billion just for areas that they will explore to get lithium, cobalt, and lead zinc. These are minerals that we have in this country.
I'm wondering, Honorable Minister, because if you look at the current framework of exploitation and the fact that we have a plenitude of small-scale and mostly artisanal miners, that's the informality of the sector. How much control is there? How much control can the authorities have with regard to oversight so that you can also deal with the issue that we have had very rampant in the mining subsector? I don't know how much of that is still occurring now, of persons just coming in and acting as off-takers with no proper record of what is going on. How do you convert this into a semi-formal and almost invariably a formal industry?
No, these are the measures I'm telling you we are trying to do. Engaging these miners, we are so close now to the Miners Association, the women in mining, the local government and states. I told you we have this National Council for Mining in Nigeria. We bring them, we engage them. In fact, the next meeting will be in Kaduna. So because of this, a lot of attention now is on mining, and people are now aware of some of the illegalities going on there, the smuggling and so on. We've been talking and educating the customs. We have a committee. Just recently we trained the customs and trying to understand some of these things, because we have so much in this country. Talk of gemstones. You can just put them in your pocket and go. They are making a lot of money. We have topaz, we have sapphire, we have amethyst, we have tourmaline, we have aquamarine. All these things are, and I expected Janet to talk on that, because our women are more involved in this gemstone industry, especially at the end of the value chain. So they are doing a lot. Recently we had a meeting with them. They are going to have their second gemstone show in Nigeria very soon. They did a very good one last year and so on. So if you look at the sector, there are some quick wins. And even in gemstone, if we are able to address the issue you are raising of monitoring, of control and so on, we'll be able to. But we don't want to do so many things at the same time. We don't really have the capacity to do that. Look at our schools. You hardly have any school that is strictly for mining. We have only 4 or 5 universities that are offering courses in mining. That we are trying to encourage. We have a collaboration with the universities. We are funding some of their researches. We are discussing with them to really encourage mining engineering. In geology, yes, we have some of them, but we are not there yet. So even when it comes to human capacity, we are still lacking in that because of the neglect in the past. She just said it. Anytime you are going in for courses like that before now, I say, what are you going to do with those courses? And this is the time now. Mining is the right way to go now. For Nigeria, at international fora, what is on the investors' lips now is Nigeria, Nigeria. Now, the perception is beginning to change from an oil destination to a mining destination. They know that Nigeria is the right place to go now.
All right, thank you very much, Honorable Minister of State. Let's bring in Mrs. Janet Adeyemi again into the conversation with regard to the question has to do with how do we move up from the artisanal and small-scale level we are now to a better, as Badegashin said, structured mining subsector. And take along with that question the issue of beneficiation other than gold. What else can we do with regard to value addition to the raw minerals and gemstones that we are picking up?
Yeah, once again, I must thank you, and let me quickly address one issue you brought about. The collaboration between states and federal government is the best thing that's ever happened. Because before, the states were looking elsewhere. That was why the illegal miners could access and penetrate everywhere. But now the state governments are stakeholders. For every illegality done, they lose. The environment is devastated, and then they lose money. So because the state governments have been factored in, I can tell you that's a question of time. Another 1-2 years, you won't even find the issue of illegal miners. Then in terms of restructuring restructuring, you know, in the time past, the field was occupied because it wasn't covered. It was free for all. So the push and pull factor took people into mining, not because they are miners, but because maybe they are hungry and this thing is domiciled in their environment, they're able to do. But now, we have encouraged, through a policy, they have encouraged adoption, a kind of adoption, where you have your license covering an area, and a small-scale miner will encourage the artisanal miners to work together, a kind of collaboration. So where they are collaborating, you find out that you can do proper structured mining. You understand? Because there are some fringes, what you can call marginal fields, that you can't work on as a major miner, as a small-scale miner. You still leave it up for the artisanal miners to work on. So, right. So that we assist. That we assist that collaboration, and we'll be able to get results. Then he mentioned the issue of gemstones and value addition and all that. As we speak, Nigeria has the best sapphires in the world. And when you get to Taraba State, for instance, I always say Taraba is like a blessing to Nigeria, that God just blessed Nigeria with Taraba. And the various gemstones, when you see the quality of gemstones that comes out of Nigeria, the aquamarines, the blue sapphires, the green tourmalines, you know, they are worth supporting. So what women are most attracted to that sector because it is easier, and then the trading aspect. So what government is trying to do, and which we have told government, is encourage cut and polishing, where you cut, you polish, and then you train people. Now with the curriculum expanding, new courses are going to be introduced into the university, where you talk about jewelry designs, you talk about gemology and all that. So once you are certified, you can come. In those days, even before now, our parents, when you get to Jos, Kaduna, Kano, the goldsmiths, they mount, they design, they do, and those jewelry are still there. We inherited those jewelries. So now with cutting and polishing of the gemstones, and you have students who now do very good designs, all you have to do is just mount them. And rather than invest money in buying sewing machines and things like that, we say times are changing. Women too could have skill acquisition centers where you support them, you know, through formalization, have centers where you provide this equipment, and then they can do and make money from it.
So, yeah, she was talking about skill acquisition. A few weeks ago, if you recall, there was one state where shoe shine boys were given startup packs. Yes. As,
On that note, let's bring in Sani Shehu in our Just studio. Now, here we are looking at how both the federal government, the state, and stakeholders can collaborate together to ensure that we get the mines and steels development sector to the level where we want it to be. Let's have your concluding thoughts on what needs to be done to move to that level where we want to be.
Thank you very much. At a point, I sympathize with the leadership of the ministry because they meet a sector that all of us agree are so informalized, and the players, that's the informal players, are so large. The mine spill is so large. Everything is so large with limited resources. But all the same, since the roadmap is there, I will suggest that apart from the goal that the Honourable Minister is talking about, let them also focus on the clay. That is, most of them are the industrial mineral. We have all forms of clay in Nigeria, and they are all being imported. For instance, dolomite. Dolomite, you use it for so many things here in the country. Different industries, the chicken mill, chicken feed mills, the rubber industry. So many industries are using this product, but they are being imported. So instead of that, and in line with the import substitution policy of the government, apart from the gold development, they should also look at the industrial mineral and develop it. The second issue is the small-scale miners, who are in most cases formalized. They need an equipment support. The artisanal miners need to be formalized, but they also need to be attracted to get formalized. A kind of carrot system, where, for instance, you say, okay, form yourself into cooperative, supply the number of kg of gold, and then in return, we'll give you a washing basket. It's very, very easy. And then, where they have dome of gold rocks, they can be supported with crushers to crush and then beneficiate. Then they can also be supported with borers in place of mercury because of the danger associated with mercury in gold processing. So if these are addressed one after the other, I feel we will achieve formalization from the artisanal sector, and then have some form of development at the artisanal, at the small scale level.
Thank you very much there, Alhaji Sani Shehu. Very quickly to Ademola Gbadegesin in our Lagos Network Studios. Good to think that the Focus Labs you had recently, first under the auspices of the Vice President and the Ministry of Budget and National Planning that are involved in all of that. Tell us something, because the Honorable Minister talks about some capacity challenges with regard to what's going on. Now, if the sector suddenly opens up, do we have the capacity to cope? What do we need to worry about? And then more particularly, how do we get out from the level of just producing these raw materials to one of proper beneficiation? That's value addition.
Well, I think a big part of the focus of the ERGP Focus Labs was actually on beneficiation. So the prioritized projects were those that involved adding value to basic commodities. And so from that point of view, I think the government has gotten it right. In terms of capacity building, I think your concerns are very valid in that if the sector opens up right now, honestly, we would need to, at least in the early stages, rely on a bit of support from whether it's human labor, a bit from outside of the country, until we can train up enough local talents to be able to take up some of the positions. It's an issue that we're facing already in our operations, and it's not something, fortunately, that's going unaddressed. I know, for example, that the Nigerian Institute of Mining and Geosciences in Jos has a lot of programs in place to train local talents to be able to work in the various mining industries. We need to do more in terms of certification. Certification is actually a potential shortcut that can take the existing talent in the country. If you are trained as a geologist and you just need a certification to show that you can work in a particular field, you can go through that process, get a certificate that can allow you to work not just in Nigeria but anywhere else in the world. There are standard certification programs around the world that can be implemented in Nigeria relatively quickly. More work needs to go into working with the institutions of higher education to encourage them to introduce programs to support the mining industry. But I think the most important thing at a higher level is consistency and sticking with it. I think we have all the ingredients now of creating a successful mining industry in Nigeria. But the mining industry, as Haji Sani and the other panelists have mentioned, is a complicated one. And we're coming from a point in Nigeria where we've had many, many years of neglect in the industry. So the important thing right now is to take the ingredients we have in terms of the roadmap, the renewed commitment in several parts of government, and stick with it for as long as it takes. And I think we're already seeing the positive signs. I think if we stick with it for the next few years, I'm sure we'll be looking at a different situation in Nigeria.
All right, thank you very much. Let's return to the Minister of State for Mines and Steel Development. Very briefly, your closing thoughts. Again, these are, shall we say, early days for the mining subsector in the nation's economy, but you can almost invariably project and say, listen, there are potential issues you will have to deal with going forward. My colleague was talking about community relations, as you find in the oil industry. Accountability, proper accounting. How do we track our receipts from all of that? Environmental issues. What is it that you are having in terms of scoping in anticipation of some of these future challenges, so that the challenges do not come and confront us when we are unprepared?
Well, maybe time wasn't enough for us to really address all these issues. We just have a web portal, and that will go a long way of addressing leakages. You can now sit in your bedroom and apply for license. You can pay your fees through our web portal. That we have in place. Our community relationship, just told you about resuscitating Merenco, these committees that have to do with issues, local issues, as states we are dealing with them. Our relationship with state has tremendously improved, and that's why we have the National Council of